Hi everyone. So I'm going to show y'all how I did the queen bee storyboard. So if you've never done a storyboard or if you've never seen one, when you take it out of the box, it's going to look like this. They have paper on the inside of them, but I've already unwrapped this one, and so I've taken the paper out. You can throw the paper away, or you can save them and use them as a stencil. So you're going to take your bottom off. Some people take this black part off. The way I do mine, I leave it on there. Use your thumbs to pop that part, the silver part, out. And then put the plastic in the box. So then these are the parts that you are going to sand and wash. So I've taken my bottom off, taped off the top, and spray painted it a metallic gold. I use Rust-Oleum 2X. This is 5 ml of Tack-It. If you've never used Tack-It before, it's 50% Tack-It and 50% water. And I'm just using a soft bristled brush to brush it on there. Once I get it all on there, I'll let it sit 5 to 6 minutes until it turns clear. And now we're going to apply our glitter. And as you notice, the bottom of the cup, we're not doing anything with the bottom of the cup. So some people tape theirs off. I don't mess with mine, so now we're just gonna rub our glitter off, and the glitter that comes off of the cup, I don't put that back in my jar with the other glitter. I will put it in a dump cup. I don't want it contaminating my glitter. So just make sure you clean off underneath that rim. You don't want anything clogging it up and keeping the plastic from fitting on correctly. I'm putting 10 ml of epoxy, just a very thin coat. There's not a lot of room between the cup and the plastic, so you just want a thin coat. I'm not putting any on the bottom. I will use a silicone brush to put a very thin layer up underneath the rim. And then you will see me drag the brush along the inside of the rim just to take off any excess that might be under there. You don't want anything building up underneath there. but you want to make sure that your glitter underneath is protected. So it's been sitting overnight and it's time to put on our silicone. This is the one that I usually use, but they were out, so I got this one, and they're the same. One of them is used for bathroom and kitchen, the other one is used for windows and doors, but they're both 100% waterproof and 100% silicone. So we're going to put silicone around the rim of our cup, and then we're going to push it down in there with the popsicle stick. And then we're going to put another layer of silicone. You'd rather have too much than too little. Now it's time to put our plastic piece on. Get it on there, and then you'll have to push down really hard, and you should feel it snap into place. Make sure that you wipe off any silicone that gets on the cup, because it will repel your epoxy. You want to make sure the spacing between the cup and the plastic is even all the way around. If it's not even, then just try and snap that plastic in there. It's not snapped in somewhere. Make sure there are no gaps. So make sure there's no gaps between those two. And you can see the silicone, but since I'm doing a wood grain, you won't be able to see it. And now I like to screw the bottom back on. It will help give me a tighter seal while the silicone sets up. If your lid doesn't go on, then just keep trying to adjust the plastic. It's not sitting on there right. So that will give me a tighter seal. And it says it's water ready within 30 minutes. And I think I let it sit for about 45 minutes. So now we're going to do a liquid test. I'm going to take our bottom off, and we're just going to pour a little bit of our water and glycerin in there, and we're going to check it for leaks. And so far so good, but I will let it sit for 30 minutes just to be sure. Okay, so we have no leaks. Everything's sealed. So far so good. I am using Honeybee, Queen Bee, and those are Glitter Chip. And this one is Summer Buzz from Wicked Shimmer. You're also going to need your glycerin and your water. So I like to put my glitter in first, and then I will add my liquid. And everything that I've watched says that chunky glitter is best for this. If you use fine glitter, it just clumps up and it doesn't move very well in the cup. So I use the brush to push it down in there, and then it's just a little painter's spatula to try and push it down. If your epoxy is thicker in some areas, it could get stuck, so just try and help it to work down. So I just mix my glycerin and water in a medicine cup. And it's like epoxy. It will be cloudy and then it'll clear. So just keep doing that until you get the cup filled. I don't fill it all the way to the top. I fill it just to right below that flat metal surface, if that makes sense. And then make sure you dry everything off. You see how it moves easier in some spots than it does others. It means my epoxy's thicker in those spots where it's getting stuck. So now it's time for silicone. This is the same as the smaller tube, it's just the bigger one that you have to use the caulking gun for. So I fill in that hole, and then I cover that whole bottom part with silicone. And some people might say that this is overkill, like I'm overdoing it, but this is how I've done it. I watched the tutorial, I tried it, and it's worked for me every time. So I will continue to do it this way. Now you're going to put silicone around the edge of the bottom. And around that center part where your threads are, where it screws onto the cup. And you will be able to see the silicone, but since I'm covering it, I'm not worried about it. Now when you put your bottom on, that silicone is going to cause some resistance. So you just gotta push down as you're turning it. And just keep checking to make sure that it goes on there without any gaps. You might have to try 2 or 3 times to get it right. I did develop one small leak right there, and I think it was just from the pressure of putting the bottom on. So I looked around to see what I had at home, and I had Gorilla Glue, so I Googled it, and Gorilla Glue is 100% waterproof, and it will hold spray paint. So I figured, why not give it a shot? So I marked it, the spot, with a chalk marker. And then I just put a drop of Gorilla Glue on there and made it as smooth as I could so that it wasn't noticeable after I got my wood grain on there. And then the chalk marker wipes off with a baby wipe. And let this sit for 24 hours. That's what it says on the bottle. So everything is dry, no drips, no leaks. I have my stencil on there. So I'm going to spray paint the cup with my ultra matte white. And now it's all ready to go for the next step. The only issue that I had with the clear Gorilla Glue was when I spray painted it, the glue that was on the plastic bubbled up and peeled off, but the glue that was on the metal part stuck. So, and I didn't have any leaks or drips, so it worked. I'm using latte and caramel alcohol inks for my wood grain, and I just use a chip brush to apply it on my cup. I'm starting with my lighter color first, which is latte. And I'm not advanced with my wood grains yet. I haven't mastered the technique of knots, but if you do your long brush strokes and then you do some short brush strokes with your alcohol ink, it kind of gives you the textured tree bark look. So once you get your wood grain done, then it'll be time to start peeling our stencils up. So if you end up scratching your cup while you're pulling the stencils off, just put a dot of alcohol ink and brush over it with your brush. So we're just going to let that sit for 24 hours, and then it's time for the honey. I used 2 drops of latte, and I used 4 drops of caramel. And I had a jar of honey off to the side so I could kind of do a side-by-side comparison. That was my 4th drop. So I'm going to let this sit for about 45 minutes. Depending on your brand, it could vary, so just start checking it at 30 minutes. Would be my suggestion. And while this is sitting, we will get our decals on the cup. So now our honey is ready to put on the cup. So just use a popsicle stick and just use an upward scraping motion to get your drips. This one dripped a little bit further down the cup than I was wanting it to, so I probably could have let my epoxy thicken up for another 5 minutes, but you have to work fast because it will start to set up on you real quick because it's already been sitting. So once you have them on, just let it sit for, so the honey drips can harden up. I put 25 mLs of epoxy on here. That was the only coat that I had to do. I didn't have to do any more after that. Make sure you get into all those little crevices where your honey drips are. Be careful when using your torch. Remember that is plastic and you could warp or melt it. So be very quick with it. I really love doing these storyboards. They're really fun to do. And here is the final. So thank y'all so much for watching this. And I hope it helps. Thanks, guys. Bye.